We have three expert guest speakers that we're very excited to have. We have Neely Law, who is the Deputy Director of the Fairfax County Office of Environmental and Energy Coordination. We have Brandon Prelu, who is the Virginia Program Director of Solar United Neighbors. And we also have Bob Soul, who is the co-founder, excuse me, of Go Electric DMV. We're very excited to have our expert panelists with us tonight. We are going to start the roundtable with three scheduled questions, and then at the end we'll have a Q&A where you can ask whatever you want to ask. I ask that as we go through the roundtable discussion that you put your questions in the chat, and we will do our best to get to them at the end when we have the Q&A. Also remember that after the roundtable discussion, there is a breakout room session where you can either go to Neely, Brandon, or Bob's breakout room. So if you are a Fairfax County congregation interested in funding for your congregation for energy upgrades, I would encourage you to go to Neely's breakout room. If you are interested in solar, I would encourage you to go to Brandon's breakout room. And then if you are an individual homeowner interested in electrifying your home, I encourage you to go to Bob's breakout room. So if you have questions that we don't get to in the Q&A, you should be able to ask them in your breakout room. And then if for whatever reason you can't get to all of your if we don't answer all of your questions in the Q&A or the breakout room, please let us know, and we'll do our best to connect you with our guest speaker so you can get your questions answered. Also, once the breakout room session is over, you will not return to the main room. The webinar will be over. But again, if you have any residual questions or conversations that you'd like to have, maybe you were in one breakout room, but you have questions for someone else, please let us know and we'll connect you with our guest speaker so you can get your questions answered. So I think that that's it as far as housekeeping and logistics. I think we are going to get started with our first question. So this first question is just an introduction. So I'm just going to ask our guest speakers to just kind of give a general introduction to who they are and what they do. And just for efficiency, we'll start with Neely and then go to Brandon and then Bob, and we'll keep the same order as we move throughout our questions. So I will hand it over to Neely. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll go to Brandon and Bob as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Claudia. Very pleased to be here tonight to not only talk about our Energy Conservation Assistance Program, but to touch on also our partnership with Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions, as we feel it's really important to develop these community-based partnerships to help us accelerate climate action in the community. We often say we can't do it alone, and so through partnership, we think we can get that work done. So as Claudia mentioned, my name's Neely Law, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Fairfax County Office of Environmental and Energy Coordination. I know that's a mouthful. OEEC is the acronym that we use to refer to our office. Prior to joining the county, I worked for 20 years developing sustainability solutions for urban watersheds, focusing on stream health, health of trees, and a lot of urban and watershed planning. And so I'm bringing that knowledge with the partnerships that I developed at local, state, and federal levels to further our coordination efforts to achieve our climate action goals here in Fairfax County. So our Office of Environmental and Energy Coordination was established in 2019. We are the lead agency for implementing our climate action plans to address both the emissions to mitigate the effects of climate change, but also to adapt to our warmer, wetter, and warmer, wetter, and weirder weather that we're experiencing due to the impacts of climate change. So we have plans to reduce both the emissions as well as to adapt and become more resilient to the effects of climate change. And we don't do this alone as a single agency. We partner in the county with over 25 agencies that have a hand in directly or indirectly in the work that we do in this climate space. And so we are making progress towards our climate action goals. Our office is also responsible for overall coordination and interdepartmental work to address environmental policies and other plans within the county. So I think I'll end on that, Claudia, and hand it over to our next panelist.
Thank you, Neely. And I'm not sure how I'm going to follow that, but it's so good to be with you all tonight. Thank you, Fax, for putting this on. My name is Brandon Prelude. I am the Virginia Program Director for Solar United Neighbors. Just a little background about me prior to my time here with Sun. I also so happened to pastor a small church in the Norfolk, Virginia area and got into the energy space from taking my church solar back in 2020. And from there, I mean, just being active not only in the community from the accessibility and affordability and the social justice aspect of environmental work, I became very passionate about solar and solar access and solar equity, and partnered with Solar United Neighbors to host some information sessions, and then found myself with them working after doing working with the local Community Development Corporation doing strategic development and faith-based outreach. Claudia, I didn't know if you wanted me to kind of go into some of the stuff that you talked about in the email, or I'll just leave that introduction there. And just a little background on Sun. We are a national organization. We are a 501c3 vendor neutral non-profit. I do not sell solar. I do not install solar. We help people, we help residents, homeowners make the most informed decision for them by giving them the tools necessary. And we also help existing homeowners as well, offering technical assistance to them. As a matter of fact, Fairfax County is one of our biggest partners in our Northern Virginia work. And so I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in the next question. And I'll turn it over to Bob.
Okay, well, thank you. And it's great to see you all. I'll introduce myself and our organization. So I'm Bob Sewell. I retired from a 4-decade career in national security in 2022. During that period, I had become increasingly concerned about the threat of climate change. So when I retired, I did 2 things to start working on that problem. First, immediately after retirement, my wife and I went on a 6-month trip to all 51 national parks in the lower 48 states in an electric vehicle to show people that you can go anywhere in an EV and don't let people tell you that charging is a problem. The second thing I did was when we got back, we started electrifying our own home, and I got involved with a number of the climate solutions groups here in the DMV area. And through that, I discovered Rewiring America, a national organization that many of you may be familiar with, and started working with them. And in the fall of 2023, took their electric coach course to start to learn more about heat pumps and all these solutions that we can deploy in our homes. And I asked so many pesky questions during the first class that they asked me to stay on for the subsequent classes as what they call a guide, or sort of a teaching assistant. So I've been helping to teach that course now for almost 2 years. And we brought along a lot of coaches in this area, and we stayed in touch and eventually decided that we would be much more effective operating as a team rather than as individuals. So that's why we formed Go Electric DMV. We are a group of volunteer coaches. We help people for free to have successful experiences doing what we did, which is to electrify our homes and achieve many benefits from doing that. I'll just mention one thing about what we do at Go Electric DMV. There's a lot of aspects of electrifying your home, heat pumps, solar, EVs, and so forth. But the kind of the overarching theme is to do that with a plan. And what we can do is work with people on developing a plan to do it as effectively and affordably as possible. And if you think about it, electrifying your home is just like any other project you take on. Building a piece of furniture or whatever your hobby is or your job is, the plan is the most important thing and the first step and often the most important step. And so that's what we can help people with, answer their questions, help them become educated consumers, but build a plan that meets their needs for their own priorities and the situation they have in their homes. We have a website at goelectricdnv.org. And that's how people can contact us and ask for assistance. And I'll leave it at there, Claudia, and look forward to the discussion from here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so our next question is a little bit more in depth. I think some of you touched a little bit on this in your introduction, but the next question focuses on community resources, which is, another way of kind of asking, a more in-depth way of asking what is available in your program, what people may expect, what support and resources people may expect to receive when they maybe, when, for example, with Neely, maybe when they apply to ECAP, what they can expect from that, what support they'll get, what that journey will look like, how long it takes to get some of this work done. So that is our next question. So I'll pass it over to Neely to kick us off there.
Okay. Yes. So I was asked tonight to specifically talk about our Energy Conservation Assistance Program. It's been around in the county since 2016, but was updated in 2023 following the adoption of our climate action plans by the Board of Supervisors in 2022 and 2021. And the Energy Conservation Assistance Programs is specifically focusing on places of worship, nonprofit organizations, and homeowners associations, condominium associations, those common interest properties, to provide financial assistance to support energy upgrades in the buildings that they own and manage. The program, although it started in 2016, we really found the need in order to accelerate climate action by members in our community, we needed to re-examine, what projects were eligible under that previous program, and how can we further incentivize this activity. While financial barriers are often one of the top barriers people mention to taking climate action to implement these climate upgrades, we do know that technical assistance is also a need as well. So encourage you to go to our website, where we have a number of resources for residents and organizations to help you along your climate action journey. And I'm sure Bob and Brandon will provide you with some of that information as well tonight, and maybe offer some inspiration and motivation as well by the end of our talk this evening. So the Energy Conservation Assistance Program is a cost share reimbursement program. And what that means is an applicant needs to provide 50% of the project cost, and then upon completion, we will reimburse you for the approved amount. Now, there are limits to the financial assistance that is provided. One type of project that we highly recommend, Bob references for individual homeowners, but for any organization pursuing energy upgrades, we recommend an energy audit. And that provides you with a roadmap to help strategize and prioritize funding and the type of projects that need to be upgraded to achieve your energy goals. Some places of worship have net zero goals set forward. So what is that long-term plan? We've had other applicants that say, I just want to upgrade our lighting, because that's really some low-hanging fruit that returns your investment in a relatively short period of time of 2 to 3 years with the financial assistance that we provide. And so the program is really here to provide that financial assistance. I mentioned financial assistance for energy audits. If you choose to do an energy audit and in that same year want to do one of your energy projects, you can apply a second time in that application year to implement one of those projects from the energy audit. However, if you choose not to do an energy audit, you can apply for a project all on its own. And for these other types of projects, we have a maximum amount of reimbursement of $10,000 for any one project. So if you have a project of $20,000 and it's an approved project, we will reimburse you to $10,000. If your project is $30,000, we will still only reimburse you for $10,000 of that project. But we have seen with these new program requirements, we have seen really a surge in application. We have a total of 28 projects now with over $900,000 in investments by the community in these energy upgrades, from improved heating and cooling system, lighting, and also two solar projects themselves. And just to give you an example of some of this return on investment that you can have by doing a simple lighting project, on average, switching from your incandescent light bulbs to an LED, you're looking at a 60 to 75% energy savings. And for a smaller project, the energy savings was equivalent to about $900 per year, and they'll recoup the savings of that project over a 2 to 3 year period. For a larger project where a faith community implemented the LEDs through volunteer effort, so their cost was only in the light bulbs themselves, that they had a much lower cost, but their project was so large that they're going to see a $6,000 per year energy savings because their energy bills were just, so high, and it's a rather large facility. So hopefully that just gives you an idea about the Energy Conservation Assistance Program, who can apply, the types of projects, the type of financial assistance that you can expect from the project, from the program itself. The projects do need to be pre-approved prior to implementing them and be eligible. The turnaround time for application review is about 10 days or so. And then you should expect your reimbursement upon project completion within 30 to 45 days. So really excited that FACS is our partner in this in 2024. We are working with Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions to help us spread the word about this program through their Power of Faith Fairfax program. As I said in my introduction, we can't do this alone. So working with trusted community partners to help spread the word to accelerate climate action is really a positive step forward. And we see the impact of this program already and look forward to supporting additional places of worship, homeowners associations, and other nonprofit organizations in the coming years. So Brandon,
Thank you.
over to you.
Thank you, Neely. And so a little bit of background about Sun, and I just want to, before I kind of talk a little bit about our programming, especially some programming that we're currently offering in the Fairfax County area. Just a little bit about Sun's vision. I tell people this, that we are not an environmental group. Sun is not an environmental group. We are motivated by environmental causes, but we are a constituency group. Our focus is solar owners and prospective solar owners, whether those be homeowners, small businesses, houses of worships, or nonprofits. And we judge our impact at Sun by the amount of people that we're able to help. Even if they don't go solar through one of our programs, if we were able to provide an impact to them and help them in their decision-making process, that is how we measure our impact. And we do that through working through our theory of change, which is a three-pronged theory of change. We help people go solar, we join people together, and we fight for energy rights. And we help people go solar through bulk purchase programming that I'll speak about in just a second. And we also help people go solar through existing homeowners who may have orphan systems or need further technical assistance. They have the ability to reach out to our free national help desk and book a 15-minute appointment and receive expert technical assistance from our national help desk team. And then we join folks together. We consider this to be the advocacy arm of our mission. What we've learned is that when folks go solar, they want to share their stories and they want to connect with other solar owners. And so this join together aspect of our mission allows just for that. Solar owners can come together, share their stories, become a part of an advocacy network for solar policy and solar rights. In addition to joining several social events. Here in Virginia, we're very known for having happy hours to celebrate our successes of programming. So gives folks a chance to come together. This is also an opportunity for those who may not be homeowners or who may be renters or may be in a position where they cannot go solar to still come together and become a part of an advocacy and grassroots movement. And then lastly, we fight for energy rights. This is our practical approach to address policy barriers to folks adding solar to their homes, businesses, churches, and nonprofits. We are engaged in policy work on all levels, local, state, and federal. And we've been involved in a lot of policy work in Northern Virginia. We did a lot on solar permitting in the Prince William County area. We're currently running an IRA defense campaign for the preservation of the 30% tax credit. And so our goal and our policy initiatives are to address any practical barriers that may exist that would prohibit solar owners from either putting solar on their home or that would change any of the existing policies that compensate or make solar fair for those solar owners. So like we're currently engaged in the Appalachian Power Company net metering docket and preparing for the upcoming Dominion docket as well. So when we talk a little bit about programming that we currently offer, Fairfax County is actually one of our greatest partners in the Northern Virginia area. We're excited to be partnering with them on our Switch Together program. And this is one of our co-op group buying models. And one of the ways that we assist homeowners and churches and businesses in this model, and some of the benefits of it is, number one, it's a voluntary buying group. There's no commitment to join. And there's no commitment to purchase. So if you were a congregation that's considering solar and wanted to learn more about it, the joining our Switch Together program is a good place to learn about that. One of the other benefits of this group buying program is that we leverage economies of scale. So by having a large group of folk go solar at one time, we're able to get very competitive pricing that makes solar more affordable than market rate by saving on soft costs. One of the biggest things that installers face in their cost is soft costs, or in other words, acquisition, customer acquisition, trying to retail to folks to add solar. But if we're able to give in our recent campaign, in our recent fall campaign, we were able to reach over 3,500 people who registered for our program in the DMV area. So if an installer has a pool of 3,500 potential consumers that they didn't have to go to, those savings, that 15-25% savings is then passed along to the consumer to make solar more affordable. And then we give you the tools to make an informed decision. Solar is a big ticket item, and it's important to understand all of the sticker price, as my boss would would say before you make such a choice. And we'll give you those tools as part of this voluntary buying program. And then lastly, but I think is probably the most important, offering that technical assistance, not just through the installation, but also offering technical assistance throughout your time as a solar owner. So what can you expect when you work with Sun? You can expect us to help you understand solar, not help you understand your why behind solar, but help you to understand the what and the how behind the process of going solar. We'll also offer some baseline solar education and opportunities for you to engage in advocacy work. We do also offer resources for a wide range of small businesses, congregations with our Go Solar resources, as well as our help desk. And then I think one of the most influential pieces of our mission is we offer an unbiased opinion. We are vendor neutral. So you won't see us recommend any installer over the other. Our main concern is the homeowner and the needs of the homeowner, and assuring that their energy needs and energy goals are met. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bob.
All right, thanks, Brandon. Well, I'll focus on the home and homeowner side of things, which is where we do our work. And I'll talk about what the assistance that Go Electric DMV can provide. But first, let me make a couple of previous points. First, like Brandon, we don't install solar panels or heat pumps or anything else. We're just providing advice and assistance. So, and we're helping people to become educated consumers. But what we really depend upon are good contractors in the local area that provide local jobs, local businesses, and who understand electric solutions, are dedicated to providing them and doing good work at fair value. And we try to spread the word about those. And of course, we all have to vote with our dollars, in addition to our ballots, if we expect this transition to a clean economy to occur. So we need to support the vendors that are providing these solutions. That's really, really key in a free marketplace that we live in. And when the voting with our ballots doesn't go well, we can still vote with our dollars quite effectively as citizens. At Go Electric DMV, we typically start out with a consult with people once they reach out to us through our website, and we'll usually get on a Zoom call with them, usually about an hour, to get to know them and their home, and most importantly, to understand what their goals and priorities are. It's very important to think through those carefully and clearly. We often find that people think they want to start with one thing, but then when we talk to them about what their goals are and conditions in their homes, they say, oh, I really ought to start with something else. So for example, if someone's really concerned about the indoor air quality in their home and have young children or vulnerable people in the home, that gas range in this kitchen may be the most important thing to start with, depending upon, again, the priorities. Almost always, we recommend that people start with an energy audit. That is the best way to get the sort of low-hanging fruit on energy efficiency savings, and also to prepare a home for a heat pump, so-called right-sizing a heat pump to get your heating and cooling loads down as much as possible. The energy audits will also open up other assistance. Most of the good energy auditors will know about rebates that are available, including some from, for example, Dominion has rebates for some of these improvements. So there's many reasons to start with an energy audit, including the health of the air in your home. I've seen a lot of energy audits that have found fairly serious issues in homes of methane leaks or incomplete combustion occurring in a water heater or bad venting, and you want to find that out and get it corrected as soon as possible. So we work with people. As I said, we start with that 1 hour, usually Zoom call, get to know the people, help to develop that plan that I talked about before. And there's usually lots and lots of emails back and forth after that. There are a number of planning tools that are available to help with that. There's a number of organizations that offer those. The one that we are most familiar with is the one offered on the rewiringamerica.org website. They have their personal electrification planner, which will provide you information about all these individual items, heat pumps and heat pump water heaters and induction ranges and so forth. And also has some good information on local incentives that are available. Here in Virginia, we have relatively few incentives relative to some of the other states in the country. The big one, of course, is the tax credits that have been available the last 2 or 3 years through the Federal Inflation Reduction Act. We should all hope that that is preserved in the current Congress. The very important rebates that are available to more moderate and lower income people have not yet been implemented in Virginia. And as you've probably seen in the news, there's issues with some withholding of those funds. So it's up in the air as to whether those will be available. They probably would have been available soon if not were not for in Virginia, if were not for those issues. But if those do become available, that would be a very substantial assistance for people to make these systems more affordable. But irrespective of these government or utility incentives, one of the best ways to make things affordable is to, as I said, to go through that careful planning process, plan out replacements for systems in a logical way, do some research on, as part of the plan, on what kinds of solutions you're looking for, do some shopping around, and can make these solutions much more affordable by going through that careful planning process. So that's kind of what we offer in Go Electric PMV, and I'll leave it at there, and so that we can follow up on more details in the question period. Back to you, Claudia.
All right, thank you. So our last scheduled question is centered around challenges that that people may face when either maybe applying for the Energy Conservation Assistance Program or installing solar or electrifying their home. So I'll let you all speak to that, to what you've observed in your time working at these programs, what people should be prepared to when they embark into solar or electrification or finding funding for their congregation. So I'll pass it back over to Neely.
Great. Well, thank you. And we certainly appreciate our partnership with Solar United Neighbors. It's one of our more popular programs. You can find out more about Solar United Neighbors, Solar United Neighbors, and other resources, again, by going to our website by searching OEEC at the fairfaxcounty.gov search entry bar there. So for the challenges, I think Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions brought the three of us together because financial and technical assistance seem to be two of the key barriers for organizations or individuals to think about and making it a practical, easy, accessible solution for them to adopt in their place of worship, home, or other community organization, as well as, businesses, making that decision. There is a lot of information out there, so we appreciate the opportunity to talk about our programs to hopefully overcome some, demystify maybe, and take down, some of the barriers that you may be thinking about and are preventing you from taking that next step. So one of the, both of our presenters have talked a little bit about this, is really just to have a plan. A lot of the applicants or potential applicants that we speak to, great, there's money out there. That's all I need, right, is money. And but really what we're finding is answering the question, where do I start? That's great that there's money out there, but I really just don't know where to start. So having that initial conversation with applicants, we do highly recommend doing an energy audit if they really just don't know where to start, and having that roadmap. The specific type of audit we recommend is a level 2 audit that provides you with quantifiable information to make informed decisions in terms of how much energy is being used, in this part of the building by this particular type of equipment, lighting, heating and cooling systems, your set point controls, having smart thermostats, in addition to looking at solar. We often, recommend, although solar is that very visual piece of equipment, on your roof, and could really make you feel good about doing the right thing. If you don't have your building shored up to be energy efficient, you're still given free energy, outside. And so if you begin with your building envelope to improve the energy efficiency and reducing your energy consumption, you can reduce that size of your solar panel, maybe 5 or 10%, depending on what upgrades you make to the building itself. So money is part of the solution, but if you don't know where to start, then the program really isn't going to be much use, for you. So doing that energy audit, having a plan really is that first step and challenge we work with applicants to overcome. The other challenge we've seen in having this program up and running for about 1.5 years now is emergency replacements. My HVAC has just failed. I'm having, a nursery program or a camp start. I need to replace it. And when you come to these emergency failures, backups, you're going to be paying top dollar for those replacements because you haven't done, the research. You're really at the beck and call of whatever is the available and can be, put into, the system. So again, it comes back to having a plan, so you understand what your near-term needs are and what your long-term needs are. While the program doesn't pay for maintenance, and recommissioning of your equipment, we do recommend that as a really low cost, item to ensure your building and mechanics are working as they should be. And then the third challenge that we have encountered, and this was mentioned before, is finding contractors and getting quotes. Places of worship come in that middle ground of they're not large commercial buildings, but they're not individual homeowners. And that seems to be a gap in contractors. And so one of the benefits of partnering with Faith Alliance for Climate Solution is, in addition to the financial incentive that we have through the Energy Conservation Assistance Program, working with Faith Alliance, they have some technical guidance, vetted contractors, that they can help applicants work through to get through. I know what I want to do. Now I just need to find a contractor for it. If they choose not to, go with Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions for, whatever reasons, we try to be a matchmaker, bringing potential applicants in with other project applicants to have a discussion to see what did you learn from the program, how did it work for you, who did you use, what type of price or quote were you working with. So we do try to provide some information in the capacity that we can, because as a county agency, we're unable to recommend any particular vendor for installation itself. And so I think those are the 3 challenges and ways in which we have found to work around them. So one is have a plan, when you don't know where to start. Money is only going to be part of that solution. You'll need to know what is the best use of the money, and how do you want to best use it to improve the energy efficiency, of your building. Secondly, don't wait for an emergency. Again, that plan is really critical, so you're not overspending on these emergency replacements. Do maintenance on your equipment as well. And then thirdly, through finding a contractor, we either work with the applicants to talk to other successful, projects that we have in the program, or working with Power of Faith Fairfax and the Faith Alliance for Climate Solution program. So, Brandon.
You, Claudia, I feel like me, you, and Bob are on a segment here, and we just passing this baton to one another. So I think there are a few challenges that universally plague both residential homeowners as well as churches. One of the common threads, I think that's one of the biggest roadblocks to going solar and challenges, is roofing. That tends to be one of the biggest things. The general rule of thumb is that you want to have at least 10 years or more of life left on that roof. If not, you're going to end up incurring additional costs because you're going to put your system on, then you have to take your system off, re-roof it, and then get it put back on. And so the roofing aspect, as far as the age of the roof, is one hurdle. In addition, you also have the roof type. Virginia, most common roof in the state of Virginia is an asphalt shingle roof, but there are older homes that still have slate roofs. And a lot of installers do not install on slate roofs, or if they do, there is a rider that's added to in order to do that. Now, I did a presentation back in March in Ashland, or in Ashland, in a church in Charlottesville, United Methodist Church in downtown Charlottesville, historic church, had a slate roof, wanted to go solar, and so they got creative with their installer. They brought in a roofer, and they cut out, after they had done the engineering of what the system was going to be and where it was going to be, they cut out a section of slate, installed asphalt shingle, and then put a piece of standing seam metal on it. So then they attached the racking to that standing seam metal roof. So instead of having a bunch of holes for racking in their roof, they literally had 3 holes in their roof. Now, they got creative, but there was also a cost that was associated with that. So there are ways around some of those roofing hurdles, but they may incur additional costs. One of the other hurdles with roofing is orientation. You want to be facing, with us being in the Northern Hemisphere, you want to be facing the equator, or as much south as you can. East and west facing roofs are great. But if you are a north facing roof and don't have other portions of your roof that you can put panels on, a north facing roof is just not going to give the type of return on investment for production. And that makes that extremely difficult. For churches, there are some hurdles that I've seen and even have experienced in going solar myself. Number one is cost. Generally, and Neely, thank you for characterizing the church buildings. Not quite commercial, but bigger than a residential. And that kind of in-between area kind of plays into effect for solar as well. I had the luxury of I don't have a very large church. So my system luckily could be sized like a residential system. But for most churches, depending on what their energy goals are, whether they're trying to offset a percentage of their energy consumption or all of their energy consumption, that system may very well be more than 25 kilowatts. And once you start to get into that mid-size solar range, the cost for installation goes up. And then the other hurdle for that is interconnection cost. And we start to see the utility say, oh, well, this system's going to be 50 kilowatts. So we're going to have to add another transformer to the grid to accommodate this. And then there becomes, an interconnection cost to interconnect that system to the grid. So the size of the systems on churches can sometimes be a hurdle when it comes to cost, out-of-pocket costs, as well as interconnection costs. And then lastly, with that, financing. I like to tell people all the time, the church may live by faith, but the church don't run on faith. And so there is a balance sheet that makes ministry and church operation possible. And sometimes with the sheer size and pricing of some of the projects and solar installations for churches, financing can be hard to find. And then that becomes a question of whether the church has the resources and they want to pay for it up front, or if they're willing to finance. But there are financial institutions that specialize in solar financing, specifically for homeowners, residents, and for churches. But that can be a hurdle of the process. And I think size of the system and energy goals will all impact each one of those hurdles as you navigate your solar journey. So I'll pass that over to Bob now.
All right, thanks, Brandon. So we've been talking about, I've been talking about electrification and for homes in particular, but I haven't really defined that yet. And all we mean by that is to replace the machines that are in your house now that are running on fossil fuels, like your furnace, your stove, and so forth, with electric versions, and then ultimately power those electric systems with non-carbon electricity, sources of electricity, of which there are many, many options. It's a really beautiful and elegant concept because we have the technology, it's clean, it's quiet, it's abundant. The renewable sources are basically limitless, and it's extremely energy efficient. So the concept is elegant and really pretty simple, but where the challenges come is in the implementation in a particular situation. So every home is different, and every home has, particular things that need to be addressed. But there are solutions available, market-ready solutions today for essentially any system in any home, but you need to navigate those waters sometimes. So there are a number of challenges that one has to overcome in going through that journey. One of the big ones is just basic knowledge. Many people, and I'll use my own experience. 3 years ago, when I started in this, I didn't know that heat pump water heaters were a thing. I would say that most people don't. So just knowing about these systems, I didn't know anything about induction cooktops. I got a portable countertop unit and found the advantages, but most people are not. They just think gas is better because that's what they've been told all their lives. So just basic knowledge about the existence of some of these things. There's also a lot of false narratives out there that make that even worse. So for example, and some of these were true in the past, but are no longer. For example, that heat pumps don't work in cold weather. That used to be an issue. It is not anymore with modern heat pumps. Most people may not be aware of that. And in general, I think most people are not aware that these electric solutions, that they're not only market ready and available, but they're better. There's this sort of narrative that we're going to have to sacrifice our way of life in order to address the climate crisis. In fact, like many of the false narratives, the exact opposite is true. The systems are better. It will improve our way of life. And it's, in fact, the only way we can sustain our way of life into the future. And so addressing this lack of knowledge and false narratives is sort of one of the bigger issues we have. There are also some of the other speakers touched on some of these points. There are a lot of great contractors out there, but there are also ones who will tell you that heat pumps don't work in cold weather. I've encountered a couple of those myself in my own home explorations. So you have to have some basic knowledge about what's right and what's not right when you talk to people. And then of course finding the good ones is another challenge. Neely mentioned a really important point about the emergency replacements. A lot of people back themselves into another 10 to 20 years of a fossil fuel system because they were not prepared for that water heater to die or their furnace to die or their air conditioner to die. So all roads lead back to the plan in terms of addressing these challenges so that you're ready to go with research, knowledge of what you want to do, and the electrical systems to support it. In some cases, this can be another challenge that you may need to have some additional circuits run or other electrical work done in order to prepare for these systems. And as part of a plan, you want to have that done ahead of time also. And then finally, as Brandon mentioned, affordability can be a big issue. As everyone who owns a home knows, there's a reason why they're called money pits. So whether you're replacing a gas furnace or a gas stove or anything else, it's expensive. But the real question is it more expensive to do that electric version than a like kind of fossil fuel replacement? And the answer to that is really no, if you're prepared and if you have done your research. And it's getting better all the time in terms of these systems. when I replaced my air conditioner and furnace system with a new heat pump, that's the background behind me, I actually asked the contractor to price out an equally energy efficient new air conditioner and gas furnace, and it actually would have been more. And I also got a $2,000 tax credit from the Inflation Reduction Act. So if you do your research and your preparation, then these systems don't have to be more expensive. And the other part of a plan is to sort of phase them in over time. You'll often hear these multiple tens of thousands of dollars to electrify a home. Well, that can be true, but you're going to spread it over 10 years as you do each system as it reaches the end of its expected life. You're not going to do this all in 1 year. And of course, if you can also plan to take advantage of some of these rebates and other financial incentives, that can also help spread that cost out and make things more affordable. So those are some of the challenges. They're all can be overcome. A lot of these narratives, as I said, are really not true. They're usually peddled by people who don't have experience with these systems. I've had a lot of people tell me that you can't go on road trips with EVs, and they are always people who don't have EVs. We have to address these false narratives. But as I said before, just to finish up, kind of all roads lead back to that plan, to be prepared, to have done your research, to know your stuff, and to be an educated consumer. And there's lots of resources out there, including our volunteer group, to help with that. So Claudia, back to you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, planning is key. That seems like the theme here. Brandon, I see you have your hand raised. Did you want to say something else?
Yeah, I wanted to add one additional thing, and I think that another one of the challenges is the current policy climate, especially at the federal level. And I want to thank Bob for bringing something to light. I don't think that most people know about the tax credits for solar and battery storage, the 30% for residents, but through direct pay, churches are able to also take advantage of that 30% tax credit on solar and battery storage. And so the preservation of those tax credits can become a mechanism to address the challenges of affordability. I'm currently in the process of adding two batteries to my church for 20 kilowatt hours of capacity, that with one of our mini split units and all of our lights and sockets might give us about 10 to 12 hours of energy use, apart from producing anymore or the grid being back up. But in this installation, 30 days, once we finish the installation, we'll file with the IRS, we'll send in our completion of the project, and we'll get a check back of almost $6,700 for the completion of this project. So I think understanding the current political climate and some of the policy around it and the preservation of those can help address some of the hurdles, especially of costs, especially for larger installations and large institutions such as churches. So I just wanted to add that piece. Thank you, Bob, for bringing up that you got a tax credit for your heat pump. That brought that back to mind.
Yeah, you certainly have to take advantage of any help that you can get, and be aware of what's out there.